A desperate space battle takes place in which the good guys seem to be hopelessly outnumbered. The chief in command assigns clumsy space ranger Mihashi Karamitsu with the investigation of the case as well as about the strange occurrences on Earth, which seems to be a planet that falls under Duranian jurisdiction. Meanwhile, Tenchi and the gang visits a family hot spring facility which is run by a distant relative of Tenchi. His father tries to persuade him to accompany him in peeking at the girls, but Tenchi, being the perfect gentleman he is, refuses the offer and berates his dad for being such a perv, but the latter proceeds to fulfill his nasty plans anyway. He masks his face with his towel and starts climbing upon the palisade which separates both genders, only to be surprised by Ryoko, who was going to come over herself, as she wanted to be with Tenchi. This caused a confrontation between Ryoko and Ayeka. The dispute between the two women escalates up to the point that Ryoko summons a mighty water spirit which, due to the fact that Tenchi still has her gems, she can't control completely, so it runs wild and wreaks havoc. An epic fight ensues, resulting in heavy collateral damage until Tenchi destroys the spirit. During the climax of the battle, Mihoshi's spaceship gets dragged through a dimensional rift and she crash lands there. Waking up from a short unconsciousness, she is totally baffled to learn that there are Jirai people living on Earth, interacting with a local citizen considering that it's a developing civilization under normal circumstances would usually be seen as a taboo. In the end, a visibly enraged anti-onsen keeper yells at the gang, wanting to know what was going on here and who is responsible for all this mess. Mihashi now is also a part of the expanded Masaki household and she joins the group in the onsen. While everyone is sleeping, Ryo-oki, Sasami, and Ryoko spot a ship in the sky where an unknown man is showing. Ryoko enjoys herself in the hot spring hovering over the lake and is soon joined by Ayeka. The two talk about Tenchi and amid it, Ryoko reflects on when Tenchi was a child. Their conversation turns sensitive once Ayeka becomes flush after overdrinking and points out that Ryoko is far too old for Tenchi. This causes Ryoko to cry and then Mihashi arrives on the scene. She talks about her infatuation with Tenchi, which bores the heck out of Ryoko and Ayeka. Soon Sasami barges into the hot spring area and caught off by the smell of sake and is joined by Ryo-oki, who jumps onto Ryoko. At that moment, Kagato arrives and captures Ryoko. Tenchi then arrives on the scene and they all pursue Kagato to the shrine tree, where Kagato greets them. He returns Ryoko and then focuses his attention on Mihashi, Sasami, and Ayeka. Mihashi, after warning Kagato, fires her gun at Kagato, but her efforts prove futile. Acting amicable, Kagoto invites them all to his ship, the Soja. On the other hand, Tenchi pulls out his Tenchi Ken and threatens Kagato, who overpowers Tenchi with his energy. Desiring the sword of the king, Kagato tries to take it from Tenchi, but Ryoko grabs Tenchi to avoid Kagato's grasp. Summoning a special sword that resonates into Ryoko's mind, she becomes under Kagato's control and restrains Tenchi. Kagato then asks Tenchi twice if he's a suitable owner of the sword, to which Tenchi doesn't have a clue. While Ryoko tightens her grip around Tenchi's neck, Ryo-oki bites Kagato's hand, allowing Tenchi to be released from Ryoko's grip. He then attacks Kagato with his sword, making a small cut on his face. Furious now, Kagato attacks Tenchi, where Kagato easily wins and tries to take the Tenchi Ken for himself. Tenchi's grandfather Katsuhito arrives at the scene and summons the Tenchi Ken to him. After revealing Kasuthito's real identity as the first crown prince of Jirai, Kagato demands him to disclose the secret behind the energy of the universe. Katsuhito, however, plays ignorant to the question and the two duel with one another. When the turn of the battle shifts to Katsuhito's favor, Kagato switches places with Ryoko. During the fight, Katsuhito slices off Ryoko's left hand and throws the Tenchi Ken into the tree. The moment Kagato tries to retrieve the Tenchi Ken, it expels a powerful shocking energy that nearly immobilizes him. Realizing then that Tenchi is Katsuhito's successor, Kagato retreats and takes Ryoko along with him. Ayeka then embraces Katsuhito and he reveals to her why he left Jirai and about his mother. He also reveals to Tenchi that he's the crown prince of Jirai. Afterwards, Ryo-oki transforms and fuses with Ayeka's ship in the pond. Tenchi and the ladies board Ryo-oki and ride it to the Soja. As the group heads to the ship, Kagato and Ryoko have a brief chat. Kagato then attacks Ryo-oki with a barrage of laser beams and after being hit with several volleys. Mihashi gives Ryo-oki some sake, making her drunk. This unintentionally allows her to dodge incoming laser fires. Frustrated that they're making little progress, Tenchi uses Ayeka's ship to utilize the ship's white hawk wings to defend against further attacks. Impressed that they managed to awaken the power of the white hawk wings, Kagato then fires off a high-powered beam at Ayeka's ship. While the blast destroys the white hawk wings and Ryo-Oki is unscathed, Ayeka's ship was destroyed in the process. Freeing herself from Kagato's entrapment, Ryoko desperately searches for Tenchi, but all she finds is a bloody scarf. Enraged, Ryoko vows vengeance against Kagato. Ryoko teleports back to Ryo-Oki and uses her earring to make a new gem for her right wrist, before setting a direct course for the Soja. Ayeka and Mihashi, fearing that their beloved Tenchi is dead, gladly follow her. Back on Earth, Sasami senses that Tenchi is still alive, but that he will die soon if she doesn't act swiftly. Sasami rushes out to the royal tree Funaho, and begins chanting a prayer that will allow her access to the powers of the ancestral Jurian space trees. The other three girls have made it aboard the Soja, and start destroying Kagato's traps. Meanwhile, out in space, Tenchi lies unconscious in a protective force field created by Izaka and Kamidake, and it seems that the entity summoned by Sasami has arrived just in time to find him and teleport him away to a safer and more comfortable location. Back on board the Soja, the eager Ryoko and Ayeka forge ahead into the depths of the ship, leaving Mihashi behind. While attempting to catch up, the hapless GP officer reflects through the floor, ending up in a reversed mirror version of the Soja. Ryoko and Ayeka do not notice their companion's absence, however, for they have finally reached Kagato's chamber. The room resembles a chapel and contains a protective force field capable of absorbing energy attacks. Ryoko spears Kagato with a couple of energy bolts, but as he melts away, she realizes that she wasn't fighting him at all, just his shadow. In short order, the real Kagato grabs hold of Ryoko and turns her to stone, before turning his attention to Ayeka. Meanwhile, Mihashi continues to wander through the reversed world, finally stumbling into a room containing a woman in crystal and two giant guardian snakes. As the snakes begin attacking, Mihashi fires at them, eventually encasing the two creatures in crystal. However, the seal soon proves to be merely temporary, but even as the snakes break free, so does something else. Mihashi attempts to use her control cube to see if it can stop the snakes, but unknown to her the device is weakening the seal that holds Washu captive. The snakes break free from their prison and attack Mihashi. Fortunately for Mihashi, once freed, Washu easily deals with the snakes, first turning them to stone before making them crumble into dust. Whilst an astonished Mihashi looks on, the woman summons the stone Ryoko into the reverse world and revives her. Introducing herself as the great scientist Washu, the woman explains that she is the creator of the Soja, Ryo-Oki, and Ryoko. In Ryoko's case, she used her own eggs, so she likes to think of herself as Ryoko's mother. What's more, she is also telepathically linked to her daughter. Washu is certain that Kagato can be no match for Ryoko, so she is happy to let her return, even though Washu and Mihashi cannot accompany her. As Washu unsuccessfully tries to explain to Mihashi, meanwhile, Kagato is trying to penetrate Ayeka's mind in order to divine the secret of the ultimate Jurian power known as tsunami. Ayeka struggles to resist Kagato's probing, but soon he is thrown out by the power of Tsunami herself. Ryoko returns and launches an attack. Finally reawakening, Tenchi finds himself on board Tsunami. Appearing to him as a young woman, Tsunami introduces herself as Sasami's spaceship. After explaining that his friends are engaged in battle, Tsunami offers to send him to the Soja to help, even though she herself cannot accompany him. In the meantime, Kagato fires a weapon at the Earth. Fortunately, there is a defender ready to intercept it, Tsunami, the legendary ship with 10 light hawk wings. After absorbing Kagato's attack, Tsunami counters with blue energy bolts that easily rip through the Soja's shield. As Kagato grabs Ryoko, she calls out for Tenchi, and to her surprise, he actually appears. Tenchi is here to fight Kagato, while Izaka and Kamidake buy him a little time with an attack of their own. Tenchi draws his sword, and when the two guardians are knocked away, he charges into battle. However, it soon becomes apparent that the sword is practically ineffective against Kagato now that Tenchi is on board the Soja and cut off from Tsunami. Ryoko tried to help but can't move. She then ordered Izaka and Kamidake to help Tenchi, but Izaka said that Kagato's energy is growing at an incredible rate and they are using all their powers just to shield it. Kagado told Tenchi if he left all the girls behind he would live. However, Tenchi replied he would rather die than forsake them. Kagado then knocks Tenchi aside, and draws in the power of all the gems, even those from Ryoko and the Tenchi sword. Armed with this new power, Kagado attempts to exert his control over Tsunami herself, and to everyone's horror, he seems to be successful. As Tsunami is drawn closer to Soja, Kagado delightedly anticipates their fusion adjoining that will finally give him the power he craves. Looking on, Tenchi is convinced that he has failed, until he remembers Tsunami's words. Trusting in the sword alone was never going to be enough, he must find the power that rests within himself. As Kagado turns to finish him, Tenchi tosses his sword aside. Believing that his adversary has given up, Kagado confidently prepares to kill Tenchi. Ryoko, now shedding tears, begs Kagado to spare Tenchi. However, he replies that Ryoko and Ayeka will join with Tenchi soon. Ryoko cried out as Kagado fires an energy blast at Tenchi. Kagado is sure that it is enough to finish Tenchi, but even as he turns to do the same to Ryoko, the smoke clears to reveal that Tenchi is still standing, protected by 3 light hawk wings. Tenchi has finally awakened the sleeping power within. He takes control of his light hawk wings. Kagado fire an energy blast at Tenchi, who stops it with his shield. Kagado then sent 5 crystals at him but is easily cut down. Kagado and Tenchi soon were locked in an intense sword fight. Both fighter went for a final strike while Tenchi is protected by the Hawkwing light. Kagado is cut in 2, his body disintegrates, turning to dust. With Kagado destroyed, the Soja has also been cut in half, causing everyone to shout to run for it as the ship explodes. Izaka and Kamidake have taken up residence at the gates as talking guards, postboxes, and these days a quiet morning is one where the fighting causes minimal damage to the house. This video ends here. Don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button if you enjoyed this video, and we will see you on the next video.